He said yes to an alien bride sight unseen. What he found on their wedding night left him speechless. The desperate Alliance captain Marcus Kane stood before the viewport of the diplomatic station, watching the massive Zephyrian fleet approach through the star-scattered void. His reflection stared back at him, showing a man in his early 30s with weathered features and determined gray eyes. The weight of humanity's survival pressed heavily on his shoulders. "Second thoughts, Marcus?" asked General Harrison Webb, his gruff voice carrying decades of military experience. The older man's scarred face bore witness to countless battles against the Dominion forces that threatened to wipe out human colonies across the galaxy. Marcus adjusted his formal dress, uniform, the navy blue fabric crisp against his broad frame. "Not about the Alliance, sir. About marrying someone I've never seen." He turned from the viewport to face his commanding officer. "The Zephyrians are our only hope against the Dominion. Their technology could turn the tide of this war." The general nodded grimly. "Princess Zira is their most valuable diplomatic asset. Her father, Emperor Vex, controls the largest fleet in this sector. This marriage will secure not just their technology, but their military support. And all I have to do is marry his daughter, sight unseen," Marcus said with a dry laugh. No pressure there. Through the massive windows, the Zephyrian flagship came into view. The vessel was unlike anything in human design, with flowing curves that seemed organic rather than mechanical. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed along its hull like a living heartbeat, creating a mesmerizing display against the darkness of space. Lieutenant David Cross, Marcus's aide, approached with a data tablet. "Sir, the Zephyrian delegation is requesting permission to board. Princess Zira is with them." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Everything he knew about Zephyrian culture came from intelligence reports and diplomatic briefings. They were an ancient race, far more advanced than humans, with customs that seemed alien in every sense. The princess had never been seen without her ceremonial face covering, a tradition that sparked wild speculation among the human crew. "What do we actually know about her?" Marcus asked, accepting the tablet from Cross. The lieutenant consulted his notes. "She's highly educated, speaks 17 languages including perfect English, and has degrees in quantum physics and diplomatic relations. According to Zephyrian records, she personally requested this arrangement." "She requested it?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. Why would an alien princess want to marry a human she's never met? General Webb stepped forward. "Maybe she's as desperate for this alliance as we are. The Dominion threatens her people too." The docking bay filled with activity as the Zephyrian shuttle landed with barely a whisper. Marcus straightened his shoulders, knowing that the next few hours would determine not just his personal future, but the fate of every human colony in the Outer Rim. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, and the Zephyrian delegation emerged. They were tall, elegant beings with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the station's lighting. Their leader, Emperor Vex, stood nearly 7 feet tall, draped in robes that flowed like liquid starlight. Beside him walked a figure completely covered in traditional Zephyrian ceremonial garments. The princess wore flowing robes of deep purple that covered her from head to toe, with only her eyes visible through a delicate mesh veil. Even those were partly obscured, leaving Marcus to wonder what secrets lay beneath. "Captain Kane," Emperor Vex's voice resonated with authority, speaking perfect English despite his alien vocal cords. "I present my daughter, Princess Zira." The veiled figure stepped forward gracefully, her movements fluid and precise. When she spoke, her voice was surprisingly warm, with an accent that made English sound like music. "Captain Kane, I hope you're prepared for what lies ahead. This union will change both our peoples forever." Marcus bowed formally, his military training taking over. "Your Highness, I'm honored by this arrangement. I hope we can build something meaningful together." Even through the veil, he could sense her studying him intently. "Time will tell, Captain. Time will tell." As the delegation moved toward the ceremonial hall, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to discover something that would challenge everything he thought he knew about the universe. Part 2. Unveiled Mysteries. The wedding ceremony took place in the station's Grand Hall, a space normally used for diplomatic gatherings, but now transformed into something that honored both human and Zephyrian traditions. Holographic stars danced overhead while earth flowers mixed with alien blossoms that glowed softly in the dim lighting. Marcus stood at the altar, his hands steady despite the magnitude of what was happening. Beside him, Princess Zira remained, veiled, her presence both mysterious and oddly comforting. Throughout the ceremony, she had answered each vow with conviction, her voice carrying strength that surprised him. The Zephyrian priest, an ancient being whose skin held the wisdom of centuries, began the final binding ritual. As he spoke in his native tongue, Marcus felt energy building in the air around them, something beyond mere ceremony. "By the laws of both our peoples," the priest intoned in English, "you are now joined in matrimony. May this union bring peace to the stars." As the gathered diplomats applauded, Marcus found himself studying his new wife. Even covered by her ceremonial garments, there was something captivating about her presence. She carried herself with confidence, responding to congratulations with grace and wit that impressed even the most skeptical human officers. The reception passed in a blur of diplomatic conversations and carefully worded toasts. Throughout it all, Zira remained by his side, navigating the complex social dynamics with skill that suggested extensive preparation for this moment. "You handle human customs well," Marcus commented during a brief lull in the festivities. "I've been studying your people for years," she replied, her voice carrying hints of amusement. "I find humans fascinating. You're simultaneously predictable and completely surprising." "Which am I being right now?" "Predictable? You're wondering what I look like under this veil." Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. "Am I that obvious? Most beings are curious about the unknown. It's natural." She paused, then added quietly, "But you're also being patient, which is less common." As the evening wound down, they found themselves walking toward their shared quarters aboard the station. The corridors were quiet now, most of the delegation having retired to their respective ships. "Are you nervous?" Zira asked as they reached their door. "Terrified," Marcus admitted honestly. "You?" "The same." She touched the door control, and it slid open to reveal a space that had been prepared for their wedding night. Soft lighting cast everything in a warm glow, and someone had scattered those luminescent alien flowers across the surfaces. They stood facing each other in the center of the room, the weight of the moment settling between them. Marcus realized his heart was racing not just from anticipation but from something deeper. "Marcus," she said softly, using his first name for the first time. "Before we go further, you should know something about my people." "What's that?" "We mate for life. Once I remove this veil, once we complete this bond, there's no going back." "Are you certain this is what you want?" The question hung in the air between them. Marcus thought about everything that had led to this moment, the war, the alliance, the desperate hope for peace. But looking at her now, he realized those reasons were no longer the most important ones. "I'm certain," he said, meaning it more than he had expected. Slowly, reverently, Zira began to remove her ceremonial coverings. First came the outer robes, revealing a form that was unmistakably feminine, yet alien in its grace. Her skin was the pale blue he had seen in other Zephyrians, but it seemed to glow from within, marked with intricate patterns that looked like living tattoos. As she removed the final veil, Marcus felt his breath catch. Her face was beautiful, in a way that transcended species: high cheekbones, large eyes that shifted from blue to violet in the light, and features that were both delicate and strong. But it was her eyes that captured him completely. They held intelligence, compassion, and something that looked remarkably like love. "You're beautiful," he whispered, meaning it completely. She smiled, and the expression transformed her entire face. "You sound surprised." "I am. Not because I expected otherwise, but because—" he struggled for words. "Because you're more than I ever imagined." She stepped closer, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her alien skin. Marcus Kane, I have something to confess. What? I didn't just request this marriage for the Alliance. I've been watching human broadcasts for years, studying your people, your culture. When I learned about you specifically, your service record, your character, I knew you were the one I wanted to stand beside. Marcus stared at her, processing this revelation. You chose me? I chose you, she confirmed, reaching up to touch his face. The question is, now that you've seen me, do you choose me? His answer came in the form of a kiss, gentle but filled with promise. As their lips met, he felt that same energy from the ceremony building between them, binding them in ways that went beyond physical attraction, bonds beyond species. The soft hum of the station's life support systems provided a gentle backdrop as Marcus and Zira lay intertwined on their bed, both still processing the intensity of their connection. What had begun as a diplomatic arrangement had evolved into something far more profound. That was, Marcus began, searching for adequate words. Unexpected? Zira suggested, her voice carrying contentment and wonder. I was going to say incredible. He traced the luminescent patterns on her skin, marveling at how they pulsed gently under his touch. These markings, they're not just decorative, are they? Zira shifted to face him, her violet eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the viewport. They're neural pathways, visible expressions of our emotional and mental states. Right now they're showing that I'm... She paused, a soft blue glow spreading across her features. Happy. Truly happy. Marcus studied the shifting patterns, fascinated by this window into her inner state. What did they show during the ceremony? Uncertainty, hope, and something I've never experienced before. The patterns shifted to deeper hues. What humans might call love at first sight, though for us it's more complex. We call it soul recognition. Before Marcus could respond, an urgent chime echoed through their quarters. The communication panel activated automatically, revealing General Webb's grim face. Marcus, we have a situation. Long-range sensors are picking up a massive Dominion fleet heading directly for the system. They'll be here within 6 hours. Marcus sat up quickly, his military instincts taking over. How many ships? At least 300 warships, including their new dreadnoughts. They know about the Alliance ceremony. This is their response. Zira was already moving, reaching for her ceremonial robes. They intend to destroy the Alliance before it can take effect, she said, her voice carrying deadly calm. My father expected this possibility. The Zephyrian fleet? Marcus asked, pulling on his uniform. 50 ships, advanced but outnumbered. She paused in her dressing, turning to face him. Marcus, there's something else you need to know about our bonding. It wasn't just ceremonial. What do you mean? Emperor Vex's voice came through the communication system as he joined the conference. Captain Kane, my daughter has not told you everything about Zephyrian mating bonds. When our people truly join with another, we gain the ability to share consciousness, memories, and abilities. Marcus stared at Zira, seeing confirmation in her. You can share your knowledge with me? More than that, she said softly. I can share our entire technological database, our tactical knowledge, everything needed to coordinate our fleets as one. The implications hit him like a physical blow. That's why you really requested this marriage. Not for love, but to create a tactical advantage. Pain flashed across her features, the patterns on her skin shifting to darker hues. No, Marcus. The tactical advantage is real, but it wasn't my primary motivation. I told you the truth. I chose you because I wanted to. Stand beside you. General Webb's voice cut through the tension. We don't have time for relationship counseling. Can this consciousness sharing help us survive the next few hours? Zira moved to Marcus, placing her hands on either side of his face. Only if you're willing to trust me completely. The sharing process is irreversible and will change you permanently. Marcus looked into her eyes, seeing fear, hope, and something that looked very much like love. Around them, Alarms began to sound as the station prepared for the approaching battle. "Will it hurt?" he asked. "Yes," she admitted. "But we'll bear it together." "Then do it." The moment their minds connected, Marcus felt his entire perception of reality shift. Information flooded through him at impossible speeds. Star charts, weapons specifications, tactical formations, and the accumulated military wisdom of a civilization that had been fighting among the stars for millennia. But beyond the data, he felt Zira herself. Her memories, her emotions, her genuine feelings for him. She had indeed chosen him not just for tactical reasons, but because she had fallen in love with the idea of him through years of study. The Alliance had simply provided the opportunity to act on those feelings. As the mental connection stabilized, Marcus found he could access Zephyrian battle networks, coordinate with their ships as if they were extensions of his own mind. More importantly, he could feel Zira's presence constantly now, a warm certainty that he was no longer alone. "The fleet's ready, sir," Lieutenant Cross reported through the communication system. "Both human and Zephyrian ships are awaiting orders." Marcus stood, feeling the weight of command differently now. Through his connection to Zira, he could sense every ship in their combined fleet, understand their capabilities and limitations as if he had commanded them for years. "General Webb, prepare all human vessels for coordinated assault patterns. Zira, can your father's fleet execute the Spiral of Thorns formation?" Both humans and Zephyrians in the communication channel showed surprise. The Spiral of Thorns was an advanced tactical formation that typically took years to master. "How do you know that maneuver?" Emperor Vex asked. Marcus smiled grimly, feeling Zira's hand slip into his. "Let's just say I married into the right family. All ships prepare for battle. We're going to show the Dominion what happens when humans and Zephyrians fight as one." Part 4. United We Stand. The combined human-Zephyrian fleet moved through space, like a living organism, their formations flowing and adapting with precision that astounded both species. Marcus stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, Zira beside him, their mental link allowing them to coordinate the battle with unprecedented effectiveness. "Dominion fleet dropping out of hyperspace," reported Commander Nicole Torres, the ship's tactical officer. "Confirmed 320 vessels, including 12 dreadnoughts." Through the viewport, the enemy fleet materialized like a dark storm cloud against the stars. The Dominion ships were angular and aggressive, their black hulls bristling with weapons designed for one purpose: complete annihilation. "They're not trying to capture anything," Marcus observed, feeling Zira's thoughts merge with his own as they analyzed the enemy formation. "This is pure extermination." "Admiral Kane leads this fleet," Zira said, her voice carrying the weight of shared memories. "He's responsible for destroying 6 colonies in the Outer Rim. He takes no prisoners." General Webb's face appeared on the communication screen. "Marcus, you sure about this tactical approach? We're outnumbered 6-1. Marcus could feel the doubt rippling through the human crews, but also sensed the steady confidence of the Zephyrian warriors. Through his bond with Zira, he understood something that the enemy couldn't possibly know. "General, the Dominion has never faced a truly integrated fleet. They've fought humans and Zephyrians separately, never together. They don't know what we're capable of when we combine our strengths." The first wave of Dominion fighters launched, black specks against the starfield that quickly resolved into sleek killing machines. Marcus felt the battle rhythm of both fleets through his enhanced connection, sensing opportunities that no single commander could have perceived. "Execute Harmony Protocol," he ordered, using a term that came from Zira's memories but felt natural on his lips. The combined fleet responded instantly. Human ships, with their heavy armor and overwhelming firepower, formed the center of the formation. Zephyrian vessels, faster and more maneuverable, flowed around them like dancers, their energy weapons creating corridors of destruction that funneled enemy ships into human firing zones. "Impossible," Commander Torres breathed, watching her tactical display. "The integration efficiency is at 97%. Our computers can barely calculate formations this complex." That's because computers aren't doing the calculating, Marcus replied, feeling Zira's smile through their bond. We are. The first clash came as Dominion dreadnoughts pushed forward, their massive hulls absorbing incredible punishment while returning devastating volleys. A human destroyer, the Courage, took multiple hits and began to drift, its engines failing. Marcus felt each casualty like a physical wound, but also felt Zira's strength supporting him. Through their connection, he could coordinate rescue operations while simultaneously directing the battle, his consciousness operating on multiple levels that would have been impossible for an unenhanced human mind. Zephyrian Squadron 7, screen the Courage's withdrawal, he ordered, watching as elegant alien ships moved to protect their human allies. Human Battle Group 3, focus fire on the lead dreadnought's port shield generators. The battle raged for hours, neither side gaining decisive advantage. The Dominion's numerical superiority was gradually wearing down the Alliance fleet, but their losses were far heavier than they had anticipated. Sir, Lieutenant Cross reported, his voice tight with exhaustion, we're down to 60% combat effectiveness. The Dominion still has 200 operational ships. Marcus felt despair beginning to spread through the human crews, but Zira's hand found his, and with it came a surge of determination that flowed through their mental link to every allied ship. Marcus, she said quietly, so only he could hear. There's one more option, but it requires complete trust between us. What kind of option? A battle meld. We can extend our consciousness link to include every captain, every tactical officer in the fleet. They'll be able to coordinate like a single organism, but the psychic strain could kill us both. Marcus looked out at the battle, seeing human and Zephyrian ships fighting desperately against overwhelming odds. Brave crews from both species were dying to protect the alliance that had brought hope to their respective peoples. Do it, he said without hesitation. The mental expansion was unlike anything Marcus had ever experienced. Suddenly, he was connected, not just to Zira, but to dozens of minds across the fleet. He could feel Captain Rodriguez's determination aboard the Santiago, sense Commander Veltar's tactical brilliance on the Zephyrian ship Star Whisper, experience the courage of every pilot and gunner fighting for their lives. The effect on the fleet was immediate and dramatic. Ships began moving with impossible coordination, anticipating each other's actions, covering weaknesses before they could be exploited. Human and Zephyrian vessels flowed together like schools of fish, their combined movements creating tactical opportunities that no individual commander could have conceived. What's happening to our fleet? Admiral Kane's voice crackled across intercepted Dominion communications. They're moving like they're telepathic. Because we are. Marcus whispered, feeling the strain of maintaining the battle meld but also experiencing the exhilaration of unprecedented unity. The tide of battle turned decisively. Dominion ships, accustomed to fighting predictable enemies, found themselves unable to counter the fluid, adaptive tactics of the merged consciousness. Within 2 hours, what had seemed like certain defeat became overwhelming victory. As the last Dominion ship retreated into hyperspace, Marcus felt the battle meld slowly dissolving, leaving him exhausted but victorious. Around him, the bridge, crew stared in amazement at what they had accomplished. Status report, he managed to say. Alliance fleet reporting 85% operational status, Commander Torres announced, her voice filled with wonder. Enemy casualties estimated at 70%. Sir, this was the most decisive tactical victory in recorded human history. Marcus turned to Zira, seeing her own exhaustion, but also the joy in her luminescent patterns. We did it. We did, she confirmed, then added with a smile that lit up her entire face. Husband, Part 5, New Horizons. 3 months after the Battle of Starfall Station, Marcus stood in the observation deck of the newly constructed Alliance headquarters, watching human and Zephyrian ships dock side by side. The sight still amazed him. 2 species that had been strangers now working together as naturally as if they had been allies for centuries. The integration continues to exceed all projections, reported Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the lead xenobiologist studying the human Zephyrian bonding phenomenon. 43 couples have successfully completed the consciousness merger, and each one strengthens the overall alliance network. Zira entered the observation deck, her movements graceful as always, but now Marcus could sense her approach through their permanent mental link before she appeared. The patterns on her skin glowed warmly as she saw him, a visual representation of the love that had grown stronger with each passing day. The council session went well, she informed him, settling beside him at the viewport. Both human and Zephyrian representatives approved the expansion proposal unanimously. Marcus nodded, still processing the magnitude of what they were planning. 50 new joint colonies, shared technology initiatives, and integrated defense fleets. 6 months ago, most humans didn't even know your people existed. And now we're planning to explore new galaxies together, Zira added, her hand finding his. The scout reports from the Andromeda probe are fascinating. 17 potentially habitable worlds, and at least 3 showing signs of intelligent life. Through their mental connection, Marcus could feel her excitement about the possibilities. The bond between them had evolved beyond mere communication. They could share emotions, memories, and even dreams. It had transformed not just their relationship, but their understanding of what it meant to be truly united with another being. "Any word from the Outer Rim colonies?" he asked. "All peaceful. The Dominion hasn't been seen in our space since their defeat at Starfall. Intelligence suggests they're dealing with internal conflicts after such a devastating loss." "Lieutenant?" Cross approached with a data tablet, his expression carrying the satisfaction of a job well done. "Sir, the latest recruitment figures. We have applications from over 10,000 human volunteers for the consciousness bonding program, and an equal number of Zephyrian applicants." Marcus reviewed the numbers, impressed by the enthusiasm from both species. "Any psychological screening issues?" "Surprisingly few. Dr. Walsh's compatibility tests are identifying suitable pairs with 92% accuracy. It seems that beings who are attracted to this kind of deep connection tend to be naturally compatible." Zira's patterns shifted to gentle blue hues indicating amusement. "Perhaps the universe has a sense of humor about bringing the right people together." "Speaking of which," Marcus said, turning to face his wife directly, "I have something to tell you." Her expression became curious, tinged with the anticipation that their mental link allowed her to sense from him. "Good news or concerning news?" "Depends on your perspective. Dr. Walsh's medical scans revealed something interesting about our bonding process." "What kind of something?" Marcus smiled, feeling joy bubble up through their connection. "It seems that consciousness bonding between humans and Zephyrians creates more than just mental links. According to the doctor, you're pregnant." The patterns on Zira's skin exploded into brilliant colors that Marcus had never seen before, cycling through what looked like the entire visible spectrum. Her eyes widened with wonder and excitement. Pregnant? But cross-species reproduction was supposed to be impossible. Apparently, the consciousness bond changes things at a genetic level. Dr. Walsh thinks our child will be the first true human-Zephyrian hybrid, possibly possessing abilities from both species. Tears began to flow down Zira's cheeks, but the patterns on her skin indicated pure joy. "A child," she whispered. "Our child." Marcus pulled her into his arms, feeling her emotions amplify his own through their bond. Around them, the observation deck offered a view of the stars that seemed more beautiful than ever, full of possibilities they had never imagined. "There's more," he said softly. "The medical team thinks this could be the next step in the evolution of both our species. Not replacement, but enhancement. A new kind of being that embodies the best of both worlds." "What are we going to name him or her?" Zira asked, her voice filled with wonder. "I was thinking hope," Marcus replied, "because that's what this child represents. Hope for a future where the differences between our peoples become strengths instead of barriers." As they stood together watching ships from 2 worlds work side by side, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. What had begun as a desperate political alliance had become something far greater. A true partnership between species, built on trust, understanding, and love. "Marcus," Zira said, her voice carrying the weight of prophecy, "I can sense something. through our bond. This is just the beginning. Our child, the others like them, they're going to change the galaxy. How? They'll be natural ambassadors, able to understand and communicate with species we haven't even discovered yet. They'll explore new worlds, make new alliances, and carry the best of both our peoples to the stars. Marcus nodded, feeling the truth of her words through their connection. Then we'd better make sure we build a galaxy worthy of them. As the stars wheeled overhead and ships continued their eternal dance of exploration and discovery, Marcus Kane and Princess Zyra stood together, their consciousness linked, their future bright with promise, and their love a beacon that would guide both their peoples toward wonders they could barely imagine. The alliance that had begun with a desperate marriage between strangers had evolved into something unprecedented in galactic history. A true union of minds, hearts, and destinies that would echo across the cosmos for generations to come. The end.